Hi students, and welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm streaming to you from beautiful Victoria here on the west coast of Canada. I hope everybody is having a superb weekend so far, staying healthy, staying strong and productive. Welcome Ankit, Marjona, VG, a proud nerd, Target. Good to see many students in this class ready to learn. We are focusing on IELTS speaking part 3, specifically targeting a band 9 performance. While we wait for a few more of your classmates, this lesson is presented to you by aehelp.com. That's academicenglishhelp.com. For academic IELTS, visit us there. For the general version of the exam, visit us at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. Both of those websites present you with loads of materials to improve for the IELTS exam. This is a speaking class, everyone, so make sure to speak and repeat. So it's great that you're listening to me. It's great that you're typing into the chat. At the same time, make sure that you're copying my speaking. So be brave, be confident, speak nice and loud. Repeat after me. Welcome, Georgian. Hi, Janeel. Good to have our members joining in as well. This is our academic IELTS website here, as I'm always showing you at the start of class and encouraging you to join that premium IELTS package. Click that big red button. It's a one-time payment for lifetime access, and it's great for the IELTS and it's good for your ongoing English studies, okay? It's intermediate to advanced English learning, so it's good for a lifetime of learning. And for the general IELTS, visit us here at gieltshelp.com. Again, click that big red button. We are an official British Council IELTS test registration center and certified agents. So you're in great hands with us. For our apps, go to Academic IELTS Help and General IELTS Help in your Play Store and download the app, link it to the website, and learn anywhere you are on the go. All right. Hawaii Num says, I purchased this package 2 days ago. That's awesome. Hawaii, I'm glad you purchased it, and we're here to help you. So if you have questions, don't be shy. Send us an email. I'm glad you're liking it. And we're always improving it, and we're always adding new materials to it. Okay. Jay Shampoo says, I got my IELTS results, 7.5 overall. Thank you. You are the best teacher ever. Wow, you just made my weekend, Jay, with your compliment. Thank you so much. Congratulations on your score. Please send me an email so I can get your testimonial. I'd love to have you with our other success stories on our website. That's fantastic. Good job, Jay. All right. So if you have questions or if you'd like to send a testimonial, Adrian at aehelp.com. That's my email. You can contact me there anytime. Students, we have speaking part 3 right now. We're going to practice again, just copy, repeat, speak, speak, speak. Be confident, be brave. No class tomorrow, Monday, Tuesday. I'm usually doing other interesting and exciting activities to help you on those days, like managing my colleagues and working on HD videos. But I will be back on Wednesday with speaking part 1, and then we'll have a full week of live classes. All right, so make sure to follow our schedule by subscribing to our channel and enabling notifications. So click the little bell to enable notifications so that you know when these live classes are happening. Next week, we'll have lots of speaking and writing for both the academic and the general. All right, let's get into today's speaking session. So you're in the IELTS exam, you're doing a good job, you're in the speaking interview, you finish part 1, you finish part 2, you're nice and relaxed, open posture, use your hands while speaking, it's absolutely good. I don't know why, but sometimes some candidates think it's like impolite or weird to use your hands. I don't know where people get that from. There's absolutely no problem to use your hands. Good public speakers use their hands to communicate with people. Okay, so use your hands. It helps your brain, your mouth, your pronunciation, right? Body language is great. And then the examiner will say, okay, that's the end of part 2. Now we will continue with part 3. For part 3, I will ask you some questions connected to the topic of part 2. And then maybe if you were talking about your city in part 2, or about architecture and buildings, then maybe your topic will be something like this. Let's discuss city planning. Okay, so planning a city. Cities get planned. It's like a big, big project, right? And then they'll ask you a question. Okay, now really focus on the question, focus on the grammar of the question, and focus on giving a full sentence answer. So let's get into it, and then I'll talk strategy as we go along. So the examiner asks, what are some ways that cities in your country are changing in the past decade? Okay, so give me a nice full sentence answer for this question. What are some ways that cities in your country are changing in the past decade? I'm going to type up my answer nice and quietly while you think and give me your answer, and then we'll compare. All right. So I just typed up a quick answer here while you were thinking. Try to think on your own first and then compare your answer with mine, okay? And we'll discuss what's going on, what is working well, what needs to improve. Okay. So Asma writes, looking back over a decade, there are a lot of construction. There's a lot of construction all over the country when compared to before. There are lots of new businesses which have paved the way for a lot more competition. Asma, good ideas. I can tell you're thinking quickly. You have some grammatical mistakes, so be careful. We don't say are constructions. Construction is actually non-count, okay? So there is a lot of construction, so there is much construction. We don't count construction, interestingly, okay? So careful with that. There are lots of new businesses which have paved the way in the regular markets, leading to a lot of competition. It's a bit awkward, Asma, but overall not bad, okay? So I like where you're going with it. You just have to rethink the grammar and the wording a little bit. Target says, here in my place, most of the changes are in the infrastructure becoming more developed, specifically some additional restaurants and stores in the cities. My city is becoming more known for its products. Okay, Target, couple of mistakes. Be careful. What are some ways that cities in your country are changing? So not your city, but multiple cities in your country. based on your answer target, I don't know which country you're in, okay? And even in the real IELTS exam, just because you're in that exam center doesn't necessarily mean that you're from that country, especially if you're in Canada or US or Australia. So you have to say the country. Okay, you're going to notice that in my example, I very clearly state the names of places. All right. Ramandeep says, in this era, cities are modernized with modern facilities compared to the past. There's a lot of good transportation systems, new education facilities, and so on. Ramandeep, saying "and so on" has no meaning for the examiner, okay? So on is like ... It's like, do you want me to guess what those changes are? So you have to produce good, clear, accurate communication. Don't say "and so on." It's absolutely useless. In fact, saying "and so on" is confusing for your listener because it's like, and so on what, right? That's what comes to mind. So be careful with that. I'm criticizing each of your responses because I'm pushing you for those high band 8 and band 9 scores. And on the IELTS, to get band 7, 8, 9, you have to do much more than just speak English. You have to have good communication, okay? All right. Emily Watson, welcome to the class, okay? Muhammad says, generally speaking, during the past 10 years, my city has changed substantially because of its growth in population and need of living spaces. For instance, a large highway was constructed going to and from the city. Okay, Muhammad, you have good grammar, you have good ideas, you have good quantitative language, you have good paraphrasing, past 10 years versus past decade, but you're focusing on your city. The question here is, what are some ways that cities in your country have changed? So let me give you some tips on what you need to pay attention to in this kind of a question to get a band 9, okay? Pay attention to the question. Cities, not your city. Okay? Give clear information. Clear and precise information. Okay? So don't say "and so on." Okay? That has no value. Okay? Also, name your country. Okay? Paraphrase the question. Use the question and paraphrase it. Okay? So, for example, in Canada, in the past 10 years. Okay, so use the question and paraphrase it, quantify it. Okay, use complex grammar. So use advanced grammar. A question asking about change should be answered using present perfect grammar, as this emphasizes change over time. Okay? So be familiar with these concepts. So here's my answer. Let's take a look at it, and then I'll show you what is good in my answer that really helps to push that band score, okay? So question, what are some ways that cities in your country are changing in the past decade? Over the last 10 years, there have been many changes in the development of metropolitan areas in my country of Canada. Since many people are migrating to Canada these past years, there is a major boom in many cities. Some cities, like my hometown of Victoria, have doubled in population to over 1 million citizens. Also, cities are becoming much more modern with an ever increasingly high skyline. Skyline means the buildings in the city, the height of buildings in the city. Okay, Now, let me just correct a couple of points here. So, yeah, so this is fine. I just read it differently. So, since many people have been migrating to Canada, let's take out that ing. Have been migrating to Canada these past years, there's a major boom in many cities, okay? Notice the doubled in population, over 1 million citizens, so using some quantitative language, numbers, to really make clear for the examiner, the listener, what I'm talking about, okay? All right, and then the examiner will often follow up the question with another question. So this is what makes part 3 more conversation style, but also more challenging because you have to give more details. So, is this good or bad? Okay, so meaning the changes in cities over the past 10 years in your country. Is it good or is it bad? So, what do you think? It's asking kind of for your opinion, but again, you have to speak professionally. Okay, so give me an answer for this question. So are these changes that are happening in your city, are they good or are they bad? Okay, I'm going to give an answer and then we'll compare, okay? Narith, even if you say in my country there's not much change, you have to express yourself clear. So even with negative answer, Narith, you have to be fluent. You have to say, in my country of Brazil, there hasn't been much change over the past 10 years in the cities. They have relatively remained the same due to economic pressure and the pandemic. There hasn't been a lot of construction or development. So you still have to give a clear, fluent answer, even if it's negative. And that can make it more difficult. So sometimes it's better just to come up with a positive answer. Okay. All right. I suppose, that's a tough question to answer because it depends on perspective. I personally like big cities because they are exciting and there is a lot to do, like going to the theater or sporting events. So for me, the population boom and expansion of cities in Canada is definitely good. However, those people who enjoy the small town feeling would argue that these changes over the past decade have been a negative. Okay, so that would be my fluent answer. All right, let's see what you come up with and then we'll do a quick comparison. Okay, so Navdeep says, well, according to me, the modernization in the cities in my countries not only helped to enhance the quality of living, but also gives access for people into new jobs. Overall, this leads to the development of the country too, so it's arguably a positive. Very good, Navdeep. I like your answer. Nice detail, nice attention to vocabulary. Say it fluently and you're going to get a great score, okay? Amu says, well, in my opinion, the changes in my country has benefited almost everyone, like the transport system that has been developed with new metro lines. This that has decreased travel time for individuals to and from work and school so they can spend more quality time with their family and friends. Okay, so that's how I would finish that, Amu. Okay, All right. Georgian says local councillors are attracting more investors to the city and not only convincing them that their money is worth investing, but also expanding green spaces in these cities. So I feel that this has definitely led to positive in economic growth and in the comfort of the inhabitants. Okay, Georgian, you have to answer the question, is it good or bad? Somewhere in your answer, you have to say it's good or it's bad, okay? You have to directly answer the question. Don't just indirectly. Don't be like, okay, so is it good or is it bad? Okay, if the examiner is still thinking that, you haven't actually answered the question. So that's my tip here. Okay, so always directly answer the question, and it's often best to do that right away. Okay, so always directly answer the question, not indirectly. Okay, and it's usually best to do it right away. So you can say, well, I suppose it's good. Okay, if you're not sure, answer it right away. Well, I suppose it's good. In my example, I'm not doing that, but it's better to do that. Okay, it's better to answer right away. So it's usually best to do it right away. Like, for instance, I suppose most of these changes are positive. Okay. And that way the examiner goes, okay, understood the question, answered the question, all right? Those are the two big questions that the examiner has in the IELTS interview, okay? So think about this. So the examiner is mostly thinking, A, does the candidate understand the question? And of course, these are related, because A is understood from B, and has the candidate clearly answered the question? Okay, those are the two biggest points that the examiners are looking for, right? Makes sense. It's not rocket science. Sometimes students forget that, though. Sometimes students get into a kind of a mindset or in a situation where they tend to forget that the examiner is really thinking about these two questions. Does the candidate understand the question? Has the candidate answered the question? And if you clearly answer it right away, like, yes, it's a positive, these changes, then the examiner can go, okay, they understood the question. All right. Okay, so here's the question again. Is this good or bad? Again, remember to speak and repeat. So 3, 2, 1. That's a tough question to answer because it depends on perspective. I personally like big cities because they're exciting and there's a lot to do, like going to the theater or sporting events. So for me, the population boom and expansion of cities in Canada is definitely good. However, those people who enjoy the small town feeling would argue that these changes over the past decade have been a negative. All right. Also, I usually tell students don't sit on the fence, so don't be like, it's both, positive and negative. It's often better and easier to just answer one side. I definitely think it's a positive because it has led to economic growth. Also, cities have become more exciting with more cultural diversity, more events and attractions. So it's really enjoyable. Okay, so it's usually a bit easier to stay on one side. All right, next question. Here we go, everyone. So full sentence answers, keeping these tips in mind. Okay, is there anything you would change in the ways cities function these days, and how? So is there anything you would change in the way cities function these days, and how? So here's your chance to give an opinion. Part 3 doesn't ask for your opinion usually, but it can. There is no rule in part 3 that the question cannot ask for your opinion. So don't be surprised by that if that happens, okay? So in this case, is there anything you would change in the way cities function these days? And if yes, how? Right away, a tip that I'm going to give you, okay, that's very important here, is don't overthink it, okay? So do not overthink your answers on IELTS. Choose the easy path, okay? So the IELTS is not the time and place to come up with world-changing ideas and solutions. Okay? Stick to the known. All right? So, making cities less polluted, making transportation easier, making it cheaper to live for families. So think about the easy answers. Don't think about like super futuristic, complex answers, right? Like I would create automated cities where people do not need to do just about anything but drones fly around delivering food to everybody. So please don't start futurizing your answer and getting yourself into a very difficult situation where you might not have the vocabulary, the grammar, the experience, because then the examiner is going to look at you and be like, I don't know what you're talking about, okay? It's too sci-fi. So keep it simple, okay? Then when you meet your examiner for coffee or you meet your friend for a coffee and you have this question, yeah, get into it, okay? Talk about the future. Talk about laser swords and flying machines, but not on the IELTS exam, okay? Not on the IELTS exam. Hi, Makshud. Get in there. Okay, so Proud Nerd says, if I had the chance to change an aspect of the city or of cities, I would probably focus on imposing regulations on people to reduce air pollution, maybe by minimizing the amount of cars being used, especially in densely populated urban areas. Yeah, and some cities are already doing that, Proud Nerd, so that's a good answer. Just use what you know, okay? All right, Navdeep says, according to me, the road infrastructure in my country is not as good as some other more developed nations. People do not follow traffic rules, so I would improve on this in order to improve public safety and the efficiency of the transportation systems. Navdeep, you have to finish that idea. It's very important that you don't expect me or the examiner to finish. You have to finish that idea. Okay? Muhammad says, to be 100% clear, if I had the opportunity, I wouldn't think twice about it. I live in Samarkand city, and the first aspect I would change are the roads. I would build new roads to make commuting more efficient and safer, okay? All right, Muhammad, you have a lot of leading expressions, like you have a lot of words that you're saying before you actually answer the question. Don't do that, okay, students? So don't do this, okay? So this is another do not, right? So do not say a lengthy introduction to your answer because the examiner will interrupt you and your mark will go down. Okay? And I've seen this so often and I'm just like ripping out my hair. I'm like, what are you doing? It's not communication, okay? So don't do something like, in my opinion, I believe that there should be lots of changes to cities. The one I would like to discuss and focus on for this answer is definitely roads. Okay, it's like, whoa, did you just like say 25 words before you actually got to the answer of roads, okay, I would change the roads in the cities to be safer, better for commuting. Roads in many parts of my country are old, they're falling apart, they're becoming dangerous for motorists, and a lot of people get into accidents, okay? It's much, much better, all right? So you're being direct. That goes back to my previous tip of being direct, right? So don't do these lengthy introductions. They are not going to help you get a good band score, all right? And the examiners are really tired of those too, so they might just interrupt you and go to the next question, all right? So be really careful with that, all right? Emily is asking, if you ask a question repeatedly from the examiner, will that decline your band score? Yeah, so if you keep asking, can you repeat that? Can you please repeat that? Can you say that one more time? I didn't understand that. Yeah, it will decrease your band score, Emily. So it's okay to do it once or twice throughout the whole interview, but you don't want to ask the examiner 3 or 4 times, and the examiner cannot say the question in another way. So you can't say, can you please paraphrase that, or can you please say it another way? The examiner will look at you and be like, excuse me? So they can't do that. They're not allowed to do that, okay? So be really, really careful, all right? Hi, Rohit. Lachika says, cities in India have become infamous for their polluted environment. Last week I was driving and I was not able to see much from the air pollution and the smog caused by other vehicles. So I would definitely like to limit the pollution in the cities by urging people to switch to eco-friendly electric vehicles. Okay, Lachika, very good. Okay, so you set up the problem, you set up the solution. That was clear. Okay, that's how you want to do it, all right? So is there anything you would change in the way cities function these days? Yes, certainly there are a few changes that I would implement in the workings of cities were I given the chance, okay? So here I'm answering yes right away. So I'm answering the question immediately, all right? Now, paraphrasing the question to lead your answer is different than just saying, in my opinion, I believe that, and there are many ways, okay? So this is a much better system, all right? So yes, certainly there are a few changes that I would implement in the workings of cities were I given the chance. I would implement regulations to reduce air and land pollution by urging motorists to switch to electric vehicles. Also, I would impose heavy fines for littering. As well, I would target the construction of low-cost and efficient housing for low-income families, thereby improving the overall quality of life among citizens. Okay, so here's my answer. Quickly, directly answering the question. Again, repeat after me. So is there anything you would change in the way cities function these days? How? Yes, certainly. There are a few changes that I would implement in the workings of cities were I given the chance. I would implement regulations to reduce air and land pollution by urging motorists to switch to electric vehicles. Also, I would impose heavy fines for littering as well. I would target the construction of low-cost and efficient housing for low-income families, thereby improving the overall quality of life among citizens. Littering means throwing garbage on the ground. Can anybody guess how much the fine is in Canada for throwing garbage out of your car into nature? Just for fun. A little bonus question. Anybody guess that? Also, maybe the fine for throwing garbage on the street. And here, there are what's called bylaw officers, and they do catch people and they do fine them. So a lot of people who move to Canada get really surprised and shocked. So Janiel says 1,000, it's $2,000 or more. In some places, it's up to $10,000 for throwing your couch into nature. So be very careful. And they will track people down here in Canada, and they will find them. Okay? So nature, $2,000. In the cities, it's about $500. Okay? And they do catch people, right? In Canada, in most parts, I think except for Quebec, there's no drinking in public. Drinking in public is a $200 fine. So if you're drinking a beer on the street or on the beach, $200 fine, and they catch you. Okay. So it is expensive. That's why Canada is quite clean. Okay. So remember that if you're planning to move here or travel here. And also, unlike many countries, they actually do catch people and give them the fine. Okay. Next question. Should there be more regulations placed on city planning? Okay, give me a nice full sentence answer for this one. So should there be more regulations placed on city planning? Okay, nice full sentence answer. Lachika says, yes, there should be more regulations placed on city planning. Development in a city should happen in an environmentally friendly way and not to exploit natural resources. Development should take place with consideration of both nature and the future. Very good, Lachika. I love that answer. Okay, you're supporting your past ideas and you're putting that together with good grammar and good vocabulary. Very nice. Okay. Proud Nerd says, most individuals agree that widening the cities is leading to a reduction in oxygen levels due to the disappearance of green spaces. This could be solved by creating regulations to preserve trees and parks. Proud Nerd, finished your sentence a little bit more accurately. So this could be resolved by regulating the development and the preservation of parks and green spaces. So yeah, okay. I believe there is always room for improvement, and there can be additional laws that govern the growth of cities. Especially the preservation of green spaces such as parks and trees. Also, cities should be controlled in their development so that they are aesthetically pleasing and functional. All right. So there's my answer. Chester says, first of all, working with teenagers can amend the development of society, as this can give drastic ideas and things which may be influential, like opening new tennis courts for old people. Chester, you're really jumping around with your ideas. You start with teenagers, you finish with old people. I'm not sure where you're going with it, but you do have a good idea in there. You said that there should be more recreational facilities for citizens, such as tennis courts and running tracks, swimming pools, recreation centers. That's a good idea. You have to develop that more clearly, okay? All right. So again, repeat after me. Should there be more regulations placed on city planning? I believe there is always room for improvement, and there can be additional laws that govern the growth of cities, especially the preservation of green spaces such as parks and trees. Also, cities should be controlled in their development so that they are aesthetically pleasing and functional. So, with this answer, I want to show you that vocabulary does matter. You don't have to overdo it. So for a band 9, you don't have to talk like some Nobel Prize scientist, okay? But you do need to use some simple kinds of expressions or idiomatic language like room for improvement. Remember that. When you see these in these classes, write it down, okay? Room for improvement means the opportunity to make it better, okay? Green spaces, so parks, trees, where you see fauna and vegetation in cities, those are called your green spaces, okay? And this collocation here, aesthetically pleasing, aesthetically means the beauty, okay? So it's beautiful, it's nice to look at. Okay. Nice to look at. That kind of vocabulary for sure will help you to improve your band score. Okay. The examiner will say, all right, this person has great lexical resource. They know the word aesthetic, they know the word form aesthetically, and they know the collocation aesthetically pleasing. Of course, you're going to get a better band score. Okay. So pay attention to those. All right. Lots to pay attention to in the IELTS speaking, I know. They are marking your communication and your communication style, not just your English, especially for those high band scores. But as long as you practice, you're going to do okay. All right? You're going to do okay. And then when you're doing okay and when you're really moving along nicely and answering the questions well, the examiner might change into another subtopic. So they might say something like, let's talk about tourism. All right, let's do that. Let's talk about tourism. In your opinion, why do people like to travel to other countries? Okay. So give me a nice full sentence answer for this one. So in your opinion, why do people like to travel to other countries? Again, keep your thoughts simple. This is not in the real world in a sense that you're not trying to convince your listener of some new and amazing idea. Okay? Sudan, what really matters for Band 7 is not just vocabulary and grammar, but it's good communication, okay? Band 6, Sudan, is fluent in English. That means you have enough grammar and you have enough vocabulary to speak fluently. Band 7 is a good user of the English language. That means that you're actually communicating well in the English language. Band 8 is very good and Band 9 is expert. Band 8 and Band 9 are basically marking your communication way more than they're marking your actual vocabulary and grammar. Okay. Golu, they go for job opportunities, is 5 words. If you want to get a high band score, you have to answer more fluently and clearly. Okay, it's a good start, but you have to at least use the question. So one reason people will visit other countries and even live there is to have better job opportunities. So you need to speak at least in that much of a sentence. Okay. Tutul Ahmed says, there are numerous reasons for this. From time to time, people like to go and visit other cities to get to know other cultures, to have fun, for entertainment. Tutul, keep going. You have a great start. Okay. Manveer Singh says, I like to go to different countries because I always want to learn about new cultures. Manveer, it's not bad, but this question isn't asking about you. It's asking about people. So individuals, tourists, travelers, okay? Don't say I. It's not about you. Angelo says, I would say people want to know more about foreign cultures and the language, which is immensely interesting. And it can also boost their global knowledge of different societies. A culture shock there, Angelo, does not make sense at all. Okay, so take that out, right? Asma says, traveling has always been an escape from the regular routine. Many individuals prefer exploring other countries to enjoy learning different cultures, enjoying a variety of cuisines, and also to just have change in their lives and relax. Absolutely, Asma. Yeah, so tourist destinations for beaches, for rest and relaxation, right? Very nice. Okay. Jaineel says, according to me, many individuals love to travel to different parts of the world because of their psychological nature. Everyone has a desire to experience new culture, foods, and environment. I believe people, so almost 1 billion people travel to a different country each year. Very nice, Jaineel. I love your quantification. Yeah. So millions of people, so millions of tourists enjoy visiting foreign nations for rest, entertainment, and even business. Certainly, many people love to explore other cultures, learn the local customs, and perhaps kick up their feet on a sandy beach with a margarita in their hand. It is no wonder that global tourism is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Annually. Okay. So there's my answer. Notice how visual it is, okay? So it's a very visual answer. You can almost see what I'm talking about. That's one of the really important ways that you can get those high band scores, okay, is to give visual details. So kick up your feet, sandy beach, margarita in your hand. Okay, so I can even do this. There we go. Let's see. Margarita. There we go. Let's grab that margarita in your hand. Okay. So you can visually see it. All right. That's the magic of good communication. Good communication should be communication that we can see. Okay. When you're practicing for the IELTS and you have some speaking partners going on, ask them, like, do you see what I'm talking about? We even say that sometimes to each other, right? Like, do you see what I'm talking about? That's because good communication is visual. And that's going to be the last tip for the day. Okay, I think a lot of you have done a fantastic job. So work on producing clear and visible communication. Ask your speaking partner. Can you see what I'm talking about? Okay. If they're like, no, I have no clue, then definitely stop. Okay. And rethink what's going on. All right. Okay. So again, repeat after me. In your opinion, why do people like to travel to other countries? Millions of tourists enjoy visiting foreign nations for rest, entertainment, and even business. Certainly, many people love to explore other cultures, learn the local customs, and perhaps kick up their feet on a sandy beach with a margarita in their hand. It is no wonder that global tourism is a multi-billion-dollar industry annually. All right, so that's it for now, students, but you can continue your IELTS speaking practice on our websites. This is gieltshelp.com. Click that big red button to join the premium package. For academic IELTS, it's the same idea at aehelp.com, blue background. When you join, you'll have this My Student account. And in your My Student account, you have Student Partner Speaking, where you can practice with other students. And you can also book a speaking interview practice with me. So use those tools to your benefit, okay? That's it for now. I will be back next Wednesday with a full week of classes. So these live classes go from Wednesday to Saturday every day. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and multiple classes, okay? So make sure to join, subscribe to the channel, click the little bell so you get notifications. That's it for right now. Have an awesome rest of your weekend. Remember, you're all beautiful, brilliant people. Don't let other people convince you otherwise. Always be confident in yourself. Much love to wherever you are in this amazing world. Bye for now. I'm Adrian signing out from Victoria on the west coast of Canada. Ciao.